Today, we are going to start talking about declare play, first beginning with suit contracts and then moving into the no trump contracts. The bidding is over and you find yourself in a contract of 4 spades. You're the declarer at 4 spades. Opening lead is made, it's the king of diamonds. And the dummy comes down on the board. And you stop right there. Do not repeat. Do not call for a card from the dummy until you have taken a moment or two to study this hand. Things you want to be looking at: did the opponent's bid? What's the significance of the opening lead? Count your losers. What are some ways I can get rid of these losers? Do I need to delay drawing trumps? Is it okay for me to go ahead and draw trumps? How am I going to play this hand? What am I going to do if I get a 4-1 trump split halfway through? All the different aspects of this hand that you possibly can think of before you call for the first card off the dummy. Now, I have played with people and I have played against people that the dummy has no more hit the table than they've already called for the first card. And you and I know that absolutely zero thought came into play on planning how they're going to play the hand. And maybe many times you get by with it, you make your contract, you might even accidentally make an over trick. But what many times does happen to you, you get to about trick 4 or 5 and you say, oops, oh no, I drew all my trumps and I've got a loser in my hand, I need to trump. Or at trick 1, you didn't think, you played the only entry you had to the dummy to get to a long suit you're going to try to set up. You played it at trick 1. And you got all these cards set up in the dummy for discards and you can't get there. Now, I'm not saying all the thinking in the world and planning in the world before you call for the first trick is going to alleviate some of these problems, but certainly you're going to be a much better player should you go through this process before you call for the first card from the dummy. The next time you go to a regional, take one session out and ask one of the top players if it would be okay if you kibitzed. Now, I have had the honor of watching Rodwell play, Mixtroff play, Eddie Wall play, and some other top players. They're very gracious, and in fact, they welcome you. They even got a chair for me to sit in the one time I asked if I could watch. And we have one player in our area who is of this caliber also. And the thing that you're going to see is when they are the declarer, when Rodwell was the declarer, he took all the time he needed before he called for that first card. Now, he wasn't just thinking about his laundry list of things I've got to do or what he was going to have for supper tonight. He was going through all this process of thinking about the bidding, the lead, his losers, how he was going to deal with the losers, making a plan. He was making plan A, but he was also making plan B. What if you get the 4-1 trump split? Now, I'm not asking that we make the plan B, but I'm hoping that we can at least make the plan A, and we'll move in that direction. When you watch these people, they don't worry about people who are sitting there waiting. And I think we get concerned that if we take more than a minute, that people are going to get edgy and they're going to get upset. That's fine. You're the declarer. Nothing's going to happen until you call for that first card. So once you've made your plan, made your decision, now you call for the first card from the dummy and play begins. Okay, I want to talk to you today to give you an overview of what you need to think about when you become the declarer. You are the declarer. Somebody's going to play this afternoon. You're going to be the declarer. Before you call for the first trick, first card from the dummy, you want to go through a thought process and you want to make a plan of action. And 6 things that you need to be asking yourself. And I've got them listed here, but we're going to go back through each one of these individually. What do I know about the defender's hands? How many losers do I have? How can I eliminate the losers? How do I plan to play this hand? Very important, number 5, is any reason for not drawing trumps immediately? And then what card am I going to play at trick one? So let's move down and look at the first question. What do I know about the defender's hand? Well, you know probably a lot more than you've ever realized that you knew. If they bid, if one of them makes the takeout double during the bidding, then he's got at least 12 points and he's got at least 3-card or 4-card support for the unbid suits. So if you've got to take a finesse, if in the play of the hand, it's going to necessitate taking a finesse and it's a two-way finesse, probably the better way to finesse would be against the guy that made the takeout double. He's got the points. Because you can look at the points in the dummy and in your hand, and if he made a takeout double, he's got at least 12. So you can figure out just about that the other guy doesn't, how many points he's got. If one of them made an overcall, he's got anywhere from 7 to 17 points. He's got at least a 5-card suit. So that might tell you something. Let's say they didn't bid at all. And you say, well, you can't get anything from the bidding. Well, yes, you can. Particularly if you are in a low-level contract, like 2 spades or something like that. They have about half the points in the deck. But what you know about their hands is that neither one of them had 12 points. Neither one of them could make a takeout double. Neither one of them had a 5-card suit, could make an overcall. They've got about half the points in the deck, but they couldn't bid. What that tells you is that 18 or 19 or 20 points that's out there is divided equally among those 2 hands. Maybe one of them's got 8 and the other one's got 9. Neither one of them could bid. So that does tell you something, even the fact that they didn't bid. Now, looking at the opening lead, if he has led the king of diamonds, you're in 4 spades, he's led the king of diamonds, he's either got the ace king or he's got the king queen. So you can kind of know if they're leading a sequence or whatever. I would say that if the partner has overcalled and they are coming off, the partner is leading what his partner overcalled, the suit his partner overcalled, and you got the ace queen X on the board and you got 2 or 3 of them in your hand, maybe 3 in your hand of that suit, I would caution you against taking the finesse of the queen, because what's going to happen to you, the guy's made an overcall, so he's got at least 5 or 6. His partner's leading his suit, and you're looking at 5 or 6 cards in the suit. You do not want to finesse the queen, because the guy's going to take it with the king, and now he's going to lead a card back for his partner who is going to trump it. The size of the card he leads back, remember when we talked about suit preference, is going to tell his partner how he can get back to him for another ruff. So I don't know if it's happened to you lately. It has me. I have, against my better judgment, finessed the queen. The guy takes the king, gives him a ruff. He gets back to him with an ace, gives him another ruff, and I'm down before I even get to play 1 card. So the bidding and the opening lead can give you a lot of information. So once you have gleaned as much information as you can from the bidding and opening lead, you now want to look at your hand. Dummy's on the table, you've not called for a card. You now want to move to your losers. When you are in a suit contract, you normally count your losers. When you're in a no trump contract, you count your winners. There is one time in a suit contract that you do count your winners, and that is when you're playing it as a cross ruff. You never draw trumps because you want to try to make each one of your trumps separately. You have shortness in one suit in the dummy, shortness in another suit in your hand, and you're going to try to cross ruff the hand. That's when you count winners. You count how many trump suits individually you can take. But the majority of the time when you're in a suit contract, you are counting your losers. Let's look at this hand. This is a very simple hand. You're in 4 spades, and the king of clubs is your lead, is the lead. The opponents did not bid. And you count your losers. Okay, in the spade suit, unless somebody's got 5 of them to the 10, to the 10-9, you're not going to have a spade loser in this hand. Even if they break 4-1, you should not have a spade loser. In the heart suit, it doesn't look as if you have a loser because you're saying to yourself, okay, doubleton in the diamond, I've got the ace king, so I don't have a loser. Diamond suit, you don't have a loser. You have doubleton in your hand and you have the king and the ace. Clubs, you do have 3 losers. And they've led the king of clubs. They're going to cash their 3 club tricks. And you're saying to yourself, well, I got this contract, and take their 3 clubs, and then I'm making this hand. But what can happen to you is they take their 3 club tricks and they put you in with, say, the diamond or whatever they're going to lead. And you cash out, and all of a sudden you've pulled all your trumps, and look in your hand, you have that losing heart. You have that little bitty heart that you didn't count. And I think the reason why you made that mistake is you're looking at the doubleton heart in the dummy and you're thinking, okay, I have no heart losers. What you have to realize is I can't draw all of my trumps until I trump that little heart. So the way I would play this, of course, is they take their 3 clubs, they throw me in, say, with a diamond. I think you're safe to pull 2 rounds of trumps, ace king maybe out of my hand, then play your ace king of hearts and try to trump then your losing heart in the dummy. And I think if you've got the queen sitting over there, it's obviously not going to be over roughed. What the person who played this hand did is a very simple thing. She forgot that she couldn't draw all of her trumps, that she had work that needed to be done. She forgot that she had that little heart loser in her hand. Now, we're going to do a lot of work next week with what we call the master hand and the shorthand. When you are at step 2 and you're counting your losers, you always designate one of your hands as the master hand. Normally, it will be the hand that has more trumps. So in the hand that we just looked at, the master hand is the declare because it has 5 trumps. So whichever hand has length in the trump suit, you designate as the master hand, and you count your losers from that side, from that hand. Sometimes it may be that the dummy is going to be the master hand. Perhaps if you went through a bidding sequence of where you have opened a no trump and your partner bids 2 hearts, transferring you to 2 spades. I believe I have there is bid 2 diamonds, transferring you to 2 hearts. When the dummy comes down, maybe there are 5 hearts to the jack and you don't have but 2 hearts in your hand. But it's better to get you out of the no trump contract because the dummy is a very weak hand, but it did have 5 hearts. Now you would count your losers from dummy's hand because it has the 5 hearts. So whichever hand ends up, maybe you're the declarer, but maybe the dummy has length in the trump suit. You count the losers from the side that has the length in the trump suit. Now, a lot of the hands, you have a 4-4 fit. The dummy has 4 trumps, your hand has 4 trumps. You still need to designate one of the 2 hands as the master hand and count your losers from that hand. I will give you next week ways of how you determine when you have the 4-4 fit, how best to determine which hand to make the master hand. We won't go into that today, but you count your losers from whichever hand that you have designated as the master hand. And that last paragraph there, the purpose of counting losers is to make you aware of every potential loser. The next step, you're going to plan on how you're going to eliminate these losers or one or more losers. But you got to know where they are before you can make a plan to eliminate them. In the above hand, the person knew she had that little heart, but I think her mistake was she saw the doubleton heart in the dummy and she says, okay, I have no heart losers. She did have a heart loser, but she pulled her trumps and she had no way of getting rid of that loser. So the third question is, how do I eliminate the losers? You've determined your losers in step 2. You now want to look at ways to eliminate one or more of these losers. Sometimes there are multiple ways and you need to pick the best method of eliminating. We will be doing an entire lesson on elimination of losers, but there are 3 basic ways. By pitching on a long suit, maybe you get a long suit set up in the dummy and you have an entry to get over there and you've drawn all your trumps and you can dump losers from your hand on that long suit. By ruffing, we all know what that is. The dummy has trumps, has a shortness in the suit that you need to ruff, and you can ruff losers from your hand in the dummy. And finally, the third way is by finessing. And that's always leading towards your tennis. Maybe you have the ace, queen, X on the board, or you have the king, jack, 10 in your hand, and you lead from the board, finessing the jack or the 10. Now, I have listed the ways of eliminating losers, and I know you have heard this before, in order of the success rate. If you can get this long suit set up and you've pulled all your trumps, then it's 100% sure that you can pitch losers on the long suit. Ruffing is not quite 100% sure, because normally you can't ruff, you can't pull all of your trumps before trying to get a ruff or two. And of course, therein lies the problem that they may over-ruff. But if you've got a loser that needs to be rough, you have to take the chance of the over-ruff. So the ruffing is not quite as high a success rate as the pitching on a long suit. The least successful is the finesse. It's a powerful tool, but it's only about a 50% success rate. So what you want to do is to try to figure out a way perhaps to get rid of your loser or losers without relying on the finesse. If you have more than one way to get rid of a loser, probably try the pitch or the ruff before you would fall back on the finesse. But I don't mean to minimize the finesse as a way of getting rid of the loser. It's just, it's not as successful as the other two. But many times it's the only way and only choice that you do have. So we'll be looking at a lot of examples in a couple of weeks on how to get rid of losers. All right, now we move down. You have gotten all the information from the bidding and the opening lead. You've figured out where all your losers are. In step 3, you've thought about how I can get rid of these losers. And now you are down to the point where you're going to make a plan for how you are going to play this hand. I think that you go through looking at your losers and eliminating, you're already beginning to make a plan when you start thinking about how you're going to eliminate them. But the plan part comes into play on such things as, is it okay for me to go ahead and draw trumps? Do I need to delay? Of course, if you've got something you need to ruff, you can't draw all your trumps quite yet. Do I need to knock out an honor to set up a long suit? Do I need to do it right at the beginning? Am I going to have an entry to the dummy to get that suit if I do get it set up? The eliminating of the losers as you identified, and the order in which you need to do these things. I think the order is what we're talking about here when we make this plan. You're always dealing with timing and entries when you're trying to make your plan. By entries, I mean, perhaps you get this long suit set up, but if at trick 1, you played the only entry you can get over there, maybe you didn't think about it. On the first trick, you lost the hand because the only entry you had may have been the ace of diamonds, and you played it at trick 1. And you got this long suit set up in the dummy and you have no way to get there to dump all your losers. So issues such as, am I going to have an entry to get over to the hand that has the length in a side suit? Do I need to delay drawing trumps before I try to ruff, get my ruff in? So all your plan mostly involves the order in which you're trying to eliminate your losers. And let's look at this hand. You are in 4 spades. And the opening lead is the king of clubs. Okay, obviously the master hand is going to be the declare. You have the length in the trump suit. And let's look at our losers. In the spade suit, you have one unavoidable loser. You have to lose the ace of trumps. In the heart suit, remember now you're counting losers from the master hand. You have 3 hearts in the declared side, only 2 in the dummy. 1 heart loser is unavoidable. You're certainly going to get the ace of hearts, but you're going to have to give them a heart. So one of them is unavoidable. The other loser is avoidable because you can trump it in the dummy if you have not pulled all your trumps. And in diamonds, you have all the cards except the ace. So you can't avoid losing the ace of diamonds. And when you look at the club, you have no club losers because you have the ace and the dummy to take care of it. So you're looking at this hand, you have 4 losers. 3 of them you can't do anything about. They are what we call unavoidable losers. You have to lose the ace of trumps. You have to let them have a heart trick before you can ruff one. You have to let them have the ace of diamonds. But you have one that you can avoid. And it is the heart loser. You can ruff it in the dummy if you have not pulled all of your trumps. So you should make this hand with ease. And the way, of course, you're going to play it. In planning the play for this hand, you've got to try to get that heart ruffed. He has led the, let's see, I believe the lead was the king of clubs. Was that correct? The opening lead was the king of clubs. So you're going to take the ace of clubs on the board. What you want to do right away before you do anything else is to play your ace of hearts, give them a heart. Maybe what I would do is just duck a heart to begin with and get in with the ace and then trump it. But I think it's fine to play the ace of hearts, give them a heart. If they come back a spade, they can take the ace of spades and then lead another spade. But you see what you've done? You have protected yourself from their pulling that 3rd trump. They're a valuable trump in the dummy that you now need to trump your heart. So in planning this play, as soon as you get in, you're getting in with the ace of clubs, play your ace of hearts, play a heart. They're obviously going to see what you're trying to do. They're going to lead a trump. Whoever's got the ace is going to take it. He's going to lead a trump back. But you've got the king, and now you play your loser heart, you trump it in the dummy. Now there is, of course, the chance of the overruff, but this is the only way you can make the hand. You have to take that chance. So the way to plan this hand is to try to give up a heart early, lose a heart early, and trump your losing heart. Now I always look at 3, 4, and 5 together. How do I eliminate my losers and making my plan? And in that plan, I'm thinking about, can I draw trumps immediately? Well, obviously in the hand above, you can't draw trumps immediately because you've got to get rid of that heart loser. But trying to decide, can you draw part of the trumps? Need to draw all the trumps? Or maybe even at trick 1, you can't even draw trumps because you got 2 things you need to ruff. So all of these things factor in. The trumps are so valuable in keeping control of the hand. When you're looking at drawing trumps, you're looking at 2 things, the timing and the entries. Reasons not to draw a trump. Number 1, of course, you need to ruff. That's a timing issue. I told you above, you've got to get that heart ruff before you do anything else in that hand. So in your plan, heart ruff, heart ruff, heart ruff. Take the ace of hearts, give them a heart, and then as soon as you get in, ruff that little heart. Try to ruff that little heart. Number 2, if you're going to play the hand as a cross ruff, you never want to touch the trump suit, and you hope they don't figure it out. And you're lucky on the opening lead, they didn't lead a trump, because what you're going to try to do is make every one of your trumps separately. And the 3rd one is you may need the trumps in the dummy. Maybe the dummy's got big trumps. That's the only way you can get over there to his hand to do a finesse. So those may be reasons why you would delay leading trumps initially. But what I would say to you, if you don't have any cards to ruff, you have no losers to pitch, you have no entry problems, then what you want to do is draw those trumps as soon as you can. Fast as you can get them drawn, bang, bang, bang. You don't want to give your opponents any chance to get one of those little trumps, to make one of their little trumps. So, and finally, we've got to step 6. What's the card you're going to play at trick 1? So I think you already know. By the time you get through those first 5 steps, you already know what you're going to play to trick 1. And I want to now look at a hand, finish up today by looking at a hand. You've done all this thinking process and you have played and you're trying to make sure you're going to make this hand. A lot of times the thing you forget is perhaps you do have just one entry in the dummy and you have a long suit you want to set up in that dummy. You have to be very, very careful that you don't use that one and only entry that you have before getting that side suit set up. And this next hand is going to illustrate this as well as anything I could tell you. This hand comes out of a book called When to Draw Trumps by Adam Parrish. And in fact, many of the suggestions that I have given to you above come also from this book. It is a wonderful book, and I recommend it highly. All right, I want to look at this hand. Somehow or other, you have gotten to a contract of 6 spades on 29 high card points. And the opening lead is the 3 of diamonds. And you look at your losers. You have a possible loser in spades. You have the king of spades is out. So you have a loser, possible loser there. You do have a heart loser, but you have that wonderful 5-card suit, club suit sitting in the dummy. Possibly you can get that suit set up to dump the heart loser out of your hand. But when you do your assessment of your losers, you have to count every loser. So you're counting the declarer, the ace, queen, jack guy as the master hand. So he's got a possible king of spades to lose, and for sure he's got a heart loser. And you're thinking, wow, I may have a chance here to make 13 tricks on this hand, and I'm a 29-point slam. So you take I'm going to just go through what many people would play this hand. Probably I would too. I would say, okay, ace of diamonds on that, when the 3 of diamonds is played, ace of diamonds, small spade, finesse the queen, it held, oh good. Now I can lay down the ace and hope the king falls, and I'm saying, well, I don't think that's the case. Let's say you go back over to your only other entry, which is the ace of clubs, because you want to repeat the spade finesse. And it holds. And now you lay down your ace of clubs, no king of clubs, no king of spades falls. This guy over here on your right had 4 spades to the king. You got the 4-1 split. So you now have lost a spade trick, but you're only in 6. But my friends, you have also lost the hand, because you see what you've done when you take away the ace of clubs to get over there to do the second finesse of the spade, that you have blocked this, you have blocked the club suit, because you have that stupid king queen sitting down there in your hand. There's no way you can get over to the dummy to ditch your heart loser. All right, I'm showing you now what could have happened. But if you have stopped and you have made your plan, here's what you want to be thinking. I'm not in 7. If I were in 7, possibly you're going to have to play it the way I said. But you are not in 7. You are in 6. And the other thing you want to know is there's probably no more than 1 or 2 other pairs in that entire group, that in that entire game, that's going to be in 6 on this hand. So just making 6, you are going to get the majority of the match points. But let me tell you, if you play it like I just now said and you go down, you're going to get 0, because everybody's going to be in at least 4, maybe 5. They're going to be making 5. One of them may make 6, and maybe there will be 1 or 2 in 6. But you're going to get an absolute 0 because you went down in 6. You have 2 losers. So what you need to do on this hand is to try to get rid of one of the losers. Not worrying about making 7. You're not in 7. You're only in 6. So the proper way to play this hand is you have the ace of diamonds and you have the king queen in your hand. The long club suit is in the dummy. I have a choice of where I can take that diamond. It's best to save that ace of diamonds because that might be an entry to your club suit. So let's say you take the diamond in your hand with the king of diamonds. Is there any reason not to draw trumps? No. Lay down your ace of spades, queen of spades, keep leading your spades until the guy has taken his king. If you get the 5-0 break, you're never going to make this hand. But even the 4-1 break is not going to hurt you. Eventually, he takes his king, so you have lost your spade trick. He's now going to lead something that's going to put you in. He's probably going to lead a heart, and you take your ace. Now, you play your king, queen of clubs. Remember, you want to unblock the honors in the short suit first. So you want to play the king, queen of clubs first and go over to your ace of clubs on the board. If the suit breaks 3-2, fine. Now you dump your heart loser on the 4th club. If the clubs are 4-1, you don't panic. Play a little club from the board. You still have a small trump in your hand, which you trump. And now look what's sitting over there in the dummy, that wonderful ace of diamonds that you preserved, that you did not play at trick 1. That is your entry to get to the board. And on the 5th club, you ditch your losing heart. Now, maybe this is a little bit high powered, but it has a whole lot to say with timing and with entries, and also in looking at the contract you're in and making your plan. You can afford to lose one loser, to lose one of those cards, but not both of them. And if you play it the way I told you at the beginning, it's only if when you finesse and then you play the ace of spades and the king drops doubleton that works. And sometimes it will, but most of the time it's not going to work. So you see what happens. So in this hand, timing as much as entries. I think the more important thing on this hand is the entry. You have 2 entries in the dummy, 2 and only 2. Don't thoughtlessly play the ace of diamonds on the first trick. Play the king of diamonds in your hand. Forgo the spade finesse. You're in a wonderful contract. You're going to get most of the match points if you make this hand. So give them the spade trick and then try as best you can to set up the clubs to get rid of your heart loser. If the clubs are 5-0, then you're not making the hand either. You are an extremely unlucky person. Do not buy a lottery ticket that day because you're not going to win. So all of this is a discussion of what I just went through. But what I'm trying to tell you is on every hand, be careful of your entries in the dummy. Am I going to need them later? Be careful of not pulling all your trumps before you take care of business. And you might need to rough something. Okay, so all of this is just the rest of what I've just been discussing with you. Now, your assignment for next week, and if you get a chance, I want you maybe to text me with your answer, but if you don't, it's all right. We'll look at it next week. I want you to take this hand. You are the declarer at 4 spades, and you get the king of clubs lead. And I want you to go through these 6 steps. The opponents did not bid, by the way. So you don't have to consider, did they not bid? They did. And I think you can see why they didn't, because you all have all the points and you have a 4 spade. You're not in a part score. King of clubs, what is the significance of that lead? And I want you to take this hand, designate your master hand, count your losers, figure out ways, write down ways that you can eliminate the losers, and then what is your plan for how you're going to play? Are you going to draw trumps immediately? What's the cards you're going to play from the dummy at trick 1? So I want you to go through this exercise on your own. And then just for fun today, this is what you have in the dummy, the Jack 10, 9, the Ace, King, 5th in your hand. How do you play this? Well, first of all, if you have no entries in the dummy and you're in the dummy for the last time, you're going to leave the Jack and you're going to let it ride. If you do have outside entry, possibly you could play the Jack and then play the Ace. But I think the better way suggested to play this is just to play the East hand to have all the cards and just let it ride. The chances that East has 4 to the queen are better than the single queen of diamonds falling over here in the west hand. So I just threw that in. Next week, we are going to look in depth at the master hand. The master hand is what we talk about where you decide from which side to count your losers. We're going to be looking at all kinds of examples. We're going to specifically be looking at how best to designate the master hand whenever you have a 4-4 fit. Okay, so I'm going to stop record and thank you very much.